Happy Sunday, folks. How are you guys doing? It is Sharla Kornegay coming live to you guys with another Forever Friends Academy episode. Hope you are having a fabulous weekend so far. Let me just introduce myself in total to anyone who might be checking out tonight's episodes, which I would really love. My name again is Sharla Kornegay. I'm an author, recording artist, creator of Interact Coaching and Forever Friends Academy, which is my subscription-based group membership relationship coaching that I do, and this show is named after the same. Welcome if you're new. If you like anything that you hear tonight, definitely go to my YouTube channel page, same name, Forever Friends Academy, and like, subscribe, comment, spread, all of the above, so that we can, share this content out. So I appreciate you if you have decided to tune in to me tonight, because you can be anywhere, and if you chose to be with me, I so appreciate you. All right, and what you can get from me is basically I talk about all relationship topics, and what I aim to do is prayerfully help people believe in love again, and that it's possible to have, find, the just right person for you and develop a relationship that can last a lifetime. I speak a lot from my experience because my husband and I are high school sweethearts, and we've learned, and had the beautiful opportunity to learn and grow with each other through many different life seasons and changes, and seeing the power of God being the glue in our relationship, helping us to grow and thrive together. So that's my main mission and goal here, is to help people weed out their lazy loving and be able to, build successful, healthy relationships that last a lifetime. So welcome. Hey, Pej and Ali Socks. Thank you guys for popping in. You didn't miss anything. I was just introducing myself. If you are interested in hearing any of my music when I'm on stage, I go by Sharla K, and, choose whatever music platform that you like to go on of your choice, and you can find my music there. Hopefully you'll find something that you like, as I work on new music to bring to you guys. So enough about me. We're going to dive right on into tonight's topic. And tonight's topic, we're going to be talking about mutual respect, how to develop mutual respect and understanding in relationships, which, is really important, right? I don't think there are many things that can cause a relationship to fail, but I think when disrespect is prevalent in the relationship, that's like, at least it should be a full stop. Whether it be the man or the woman. So I think it's an important conversation. And when you have it and you know how to kind of cultivate and develop in your relationship, then you have a good grounding, to build the fundamental building blocks of your relationship. So I'm going to throw out the quote for tonight, and I am going to... Pesh says definitely a full stop. Yeah, right? But so many people... unfortunately, it's not a full stop for them, right? And I guess also it can be, more challenging, I'll put it that way, when, let's say, you're already in a relationship, and especially like a marriage, and, sometimes life happens, and then sometimes there's disrespect that comes in, especially if, life status has changed, maybe a person has lost their job or unemployment, or just things happen, and then the disrespect comes in, right? So it's that is a little different, of course, nothing like severe, like if someone's, physically harming someone, that's a different story. But we're just talking about like whether it's verbal disrespect or something like that, but you want to keep your marriage, then it becomes a little bit of a sticky scenario. But definitely if you're in a dating space and learning and vetting other people, disrespect should definitely be a full stop right away, right? So I'm going to put out the quote for tonight and let me know what your thoughts are. And I'm going to also throw out the question of tonight. So the quote for tonight comes from my book, 7 Stages of Love and Relationships, that I wrote. And the quote goes like this: respect is earned, but honor is freely given. I'll say it again. Respect is earned, but honor is freely giving, right? So when we think about relationships, really, life overall. Let me say the quote again. Let me know, first and foremost, do you think that's a truthful statement? Two, do you think that's a statement that is something that, a principle, a gem of wisdom that you can apply to your relationship that you feel like would help facilitate growth in the relationship? So the quote again tonight is, respect is earned, but honor is freely given. And the question that goes along with that, and it's really a twofold question that I have for you guys tonight, is number one, what's the difference between respect and honor? What's the difference between respect and honor? And when I was writing my book, 7 Stages of Loving Relationships, when I started to research it and kind of go, I love, if you're anyone new, and I see some new faces in here, I hope, if you have been here before, welcome back again. But if you are new, welcome. Solelo Lion I know you've been here before. And Doll Rose 06, welcome. Hopefully you guys have heard the quote that I put out and the question. But I was stating before, I just took a moment to welcome the newcomers, that when I was writing my book, I like to differentiate between the nuances in words. I love chasing the etymological root of words, and it's amazing to me sometimes how, of course, through history, how it changes, how we use a word, and I guess how we interpret it in, I guess, modern times versus how it was actually originally thought of. And so I like to do that a lot here on the podcast, because I think we use a lot of words interchangeably that are really distinctively different. And what made me want to kind of look at it was, I was thinking about the biblical scripture where it says, honor thy mother and thy father, so that your days will be long, right? Which is also interesting to me. Not so their days can be long, because you figure anybody, who might be in a situation, no matter what age you are, right? Because you never know when you, as a child, will have to come in, not that you have to, but if you choose to come in to help your parent out, for those who are older, maybe in their 30s, 40s, depending on when their parents, gave birth to them, you see the life cycle, kind of come full circle, and then you are now, almost you become the caretaker for them. So I thought that was interesting, because the honor didn't say so that it would extend their life, which you would think logically that would make sense, right? If you have a child, you've poured into them, they now are going to take the time to be a caretaker to you. And then, yeah, I would think that would, extend their life, or at least let the latter years of their life be comfortable, full of peace and family and community. But the scripture actually just says for you to honor, not didn't say respect, but honor thy mother and thy father, so your days will be long, right? So that was pretty interesting to me. And so I was like, I definitely want to kind of figure out what the difference between these words are and why, which I do think God is very meticulous in his descriptions of things. Why he didn't say respect and said honor. So that is the first part of the question tonight, is what is the difference between respect and honor? And, tie it in with the quote that I put out, that respect is earned, but honor is freely given. Do you believe that's true? And if you do believe that's true, let me know what's the difference between the two words. And then my last kind of question that goes along with that is, I guess, in your experience, and when you, or if you've looked out at other people, other relationship dynamics, what is the best way to earn respect in relationships? What is the best way? If somebody came up to you and asked you, how do you develop respect in a relationship? Or how do you earn respect? Or what is the best way someone has earned your respect in a relationship? What would you say? I like to oftentimes think of questions that, either teenagers or people who are in their 20s, people who are like literally, at the beginning stages, I believe, when it comes to, I guess, being more aware about being intentional about the relationships that you want to keep and cultivating them. And, anybody who has come to my podcast know the reason why I do this and the reason why I stepped into coaching, other than being literally designed and called to, is that I fundamentally believe that relationships are the heartbeat of everything we do here, and the building blocks to every thing that we establish. I always say family is the first institution, and then how we develop the family then pours into the community, and how you shape the community shapes the society and nation, and so on and so on, right? So it's important, and unfortunately we don't talk about it enough, and we don't get educated, whether it is in our public school system or whether it's just at home, where the conversation is not being presented definitely to the youth when they need it the most, so that they can prepare and not feel unprepared when they are just kind of thrust into life. So let me know what your thoughts are. I'm just waiting to see if I get some comments back before, of course, I give you my thoughts on it. So let me say it one more time, because I know it might take some time to type. And let me tell you beforehand that I so appreciate, one, your time and your energy, your faith, some of the most priceless currencies in life. And for you to come and stop, whether it's your first time here or you've been here multiple times, I appreciate it, because you do not have to be here. So I appreciate whatever time that you take to type, to conversate, to enrich the conversation. So I appreciate you. So I have an answer here. Pej says, I'm really trying to, in my mind, to establish the difference between the two. He says, I'm stumped. I appreciate the honesty. So was I. That's why I wanted to research it more, because, again, I think we do use a lot of things, a lot of words interchangeably, and we do. You'd be surprised how much the word or the usage of a word changes through time, which I guess naturally it happens. But I found that when you chase back to the root of words, man, you really get to understand, like, it's kind of like watering down the drink. That's the best example I could give, where it's like, oh man, we really watered down a lot of the wisdom and the truth in the way that we use certain terminologies now. So I appreciate that honest answer. Maybe there are other people who are as well. So I guess you can't even, because I was going to ask you, Pej, do you agree with the quote? But if you can't, if you're stumped on even kind of thinking about the difference, then probably not, right? Probably not. Okay, I've got some other answers. Lion of Yehuda says, interestingly, this day I was on the thought of respecting your mother and father and received an amazing encryption. Wow. Thank you, first of all, for sharing that with me. I always like to look for signs that, I'm on the right path and in the right direction in my thoughts. And so whenever someone kind of meets me and say, I was collectively having also that thought today, I'm like, okay, yay. I'm on the right, I'm somewhere near the target, right? Hopefully I'm right on it. But my sister-in-law was up really last night. We were up all night. I did an all-nighter, guys. And she was asking me, like, what are you going to talk about tomorrow? And I was like, I don't know. And then it eventually came to me. So Pat says, honor given freely seems to be weird. Because honor always, in my mind, is shown outwardly between two persons. Okay. So he's like, honor just freely given seems a little weird, because honor is like an outward expression that you give to someone. So if you're going to, I'm guessing what he's saying, if you're going to publicly show some kind of expression of honor to someone, you would think that they've earned it, is what I'm thinking you're saying. He says you can hate someone and still be honorable. You're right, Pej. You're right about that. So it's interesting, because I feel like what you just said it doesn't contradict what you just wrote in the beginning when you said honor giving freely seems to be weird because honor always in my mind is shown outwardly between two persons. But then when you state a fact like that, which is truthful, right? You can hate someone and still be honorable. Yeah, yeah. And that's why I thought, for me, one of the scriptures that I learned very early on, and it, you know, it was very, how would I say it? It was an intimate scripture for me because many of you guys who have come to my podcast multiple times over and over again, I have always been open about sharing some of my testimony, my background, and I wasn't raised. My father died at the early age of 27. I am originally from Jamaica, born in Jamaica, but I came over to the U.S. when I was just like 3 years old. My mother and father did not marry, so their relationship, especially in the time when I left the island, was not on good terms. So I didn't really have much, contact, except for like every now and then some phone calls and things like that. And so anyway, he died when I was 7, going on 8, and my mom couldn't really raise me, I guess in totality of like, especially me being a mother now and seeing the things, what I do, to nurture and cultivate the relationship with my children. My mother could not do that for me because of her mental state. So, I wasn't raised by them. And so me going by that, reading that scripture was like, whoa, okay, how do I honor my mother and father if, I wasn't raised by them? And, where does that come from? Where do I get that gumption, to be able to do that? And that's where what Pez just said kind of gave me an understanding of that you can, hate someone and still be honorable. And not to say I don't hate my mother or my father, because both of them have backstories as to why life unfolded in the way that it did for them, and how those choices and the things that they encountered affected my childhood. But I still have a lot of honor for them. And, so I agree with that statement, Pej, that you made. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think it's freely given, because you can honor someone who hasn't earned your respect just because of, and he also wrote, I despise my captain, I honor his rank, right? And I love that example that you gave. And oh no, he said the stream froze. Oh no, Pej, let me know. Is it still frozen? I'm gonna type it to him. My guys on Instagram says it's frozen. I apologize. On my end, it doesn't look frozen at all. Pej, let me know. I don't know if you can even hear me talking. Okay, we're back. Okay, no problem. It must have froze for a second. Thank you. I appreciate it. But let me say his statement again, because I think that's one of the distinctions between respect and honor, where he says, I despise my captain, I honor his rank, right? And for me, and how I stated it in my book, so I guess I'll answer the question until I get, more thoughts, and, people who type in their answers, I definitely will give them, stop and honor the fact that you took time to type it out and share it with everyone who's viewing. So the difference between honor and respect is that respect is earned, but honor is freely given. And I think one of the reasons why, particularly, God put it in scripture in that way, that you honor your mother and father so your days will be long, is because of maybe someone and people who will be in the same type of situation that I grew up in, where for whatever reason and however how they process life and the choices that they made, those people could not show up in your life in the way that you would feel would be most beneficial, or put you in a better state or at an advantage point in life, etc. I honor my mother and my father just because of the spiritual significance that they have in my life, meaning that listen, all of us have different stories, right? Maybe some of us were birthed in holy matrimony, with two people who were loving each other and loved each other through a lifetime, which is a beautiful thing. And others were born like me, where it wasn't that, but at some moment in time, those two people chose to come together and chose, right, to have me, and so everything of how I guess the opportunity for me to navigate through this life and figure out what my purpose is and exercise my choice to create the type of life that I feel like is going to give me the most optimal experiences and then serve others. None of that can be done without them coming together in that one moment in time, even if it didn't last for a lifetime. And so, again, how I stated in my book is that, yeah, respect is earned, right? That's certain things that we say that have corresponding action that comes along with it to back, and follow through what it is, like they say, your words and your actions align and things like that. So, yeah, that's earned, but the honor is surveying the people in your life, surveying sometimes even the experiences in your life, and honoring those either experiences or those people because of the spiritual significance that they hold, right? And so that's why I love going back to Pej's example where he says, I hate, I despise my captain, right? I don't like his character. He might not, be my cup of tea or my cup of coffee at all. However, I do understand the principle of honoring the rank that he holds. And and I think also what I realized from that scripture, because remember I said, like, why would it be like honor your mother and father so your days will be long, not them? Like, I'm figuring if I'm taking care of them, it's so their days could be long. But it's really so your days will be long, because when you can align with the truth that when you honor someone who has been put in a certain position in your life, and then you can kind of position yourself in a place of honor, then you give yourself a really great advantage and opportunity to be able to extrapolate the good that comes from kind of aligning with the truth that you can honor someone who has a certain significance in your life or has a certain rank, even despite their nature and their character being opposite of yours. And I guess it's, if you guys have ever heard this quote, and I'm probably paraphrasing it wrong, but where it says, whenever, there's a seed of good in every kind of negative situation that you go through, or every, bad situation that you experience, if you can, get yourself in the right mind state to, to extract the goodness out of it. And I think it's really good for relationships because, again, life happens, right? And I think in the beginning, a lot of us are looking, you're going to, at least you would be wise to, right? You would be displaying wisdom to listen and see what type of phrases that a person, uses, their language, how they speak, and you would be wise to make sure whatever it is that they're saying, looking to see if there's consistency that reflects in their actions, and the respect starts to get earned in that way. But then I guess the honor, if we were to again try to distinguish it, and I'm sure many of us have been there where maybe we were vetting someone, or we thought and we were getting to know whether it was a potential romantic partner or even a potential friendship, or maybe even, right, people in our lives who are biological family members who might not have showed up in the way that we, would say a mother, a father, auntie, uncle, etc., would be in, show up in your life. You want to, you can, what I'm saying is that you can still, even if that person, as you're vetting them, as you're seeing if the friendship, has enough, where you guys can see eye to eye, where you guys can grow together. If it doesn't pan out, right, the honor would be, okay, I honor that experience because it taught me this and that and that, or without that experience, I wouldn't have, learned this or elevated in this way, right? So that's the difference between the honor. The respect is like, okay, what is this person saying? How are their, actions corresponding with what they're saying? And it's affording me for them to earn my respect. Whereas honor, right, that's something that you actually freely give because you then are reflecting on what the significance of that person, either in their positioning or, as Pesh said, their rank, or the significance of the experience that you went through and what you're able to extrapolate out of that experience. That's the difference. And I believe that's exactly the reason why in the biblical scripture that I brought up, why God says that instead of respect, because, oh my gosh, could you imagine? Unfortunately, I've met a lot of people who have similar situations like me, where it wasn't a complete unit, and they came from a broken family household. And oftentimes, especially with people that I coach in my own process of healing, where you have to come to a state, or you don't have to, but you're choosing to surrender to whatever process of healing that you have to go through to be able to, still honor these, the people that have been put in your life and still be able to, see the goodness of how it's made you in your life. We just had a family trip where my husband and I brought our kids to see their godparents, and in Florida, and we always have really good, enriching conversation with both of them, but usually in the night, it's with their godfather, and in this particular conversation, we were running, which I was happy about because, sometimes vacation, you stop your workout program. But I was able to run with them, and we did like an hour-long run, but the run went by so fast because during the run, he asked me a question that then just was a whole spiral into a very in-depth conversation about whether I believed that there was actual choice that we have in life, or did I believe that there's seemingly choice that God gives because God is the creator of all things, and so the nature of who he creates a person to be, they're just going to be that, and the choices that they make are based on the nature that they have. And I had given an example, like I said, no, I believe that there's choice, and I don't think that you can negate that. And the best example I gave him was, like when you take the GPS, you check your GPS and they give you multiple different routes to the same destination. And, they'll say this one is the fastest route, has less traffic. They'll say this one has the most tolls. And so you can choose which route you're going to take, even though you're going to end up at the same destination. And in each route, I do believe in each choice that you make, God, knows the turns, the bumps, the potholes, whatever you want to say, the traffic, the accidents, whatever the experiences that come along with that choice. So in that way, yes, I can understand what he's saying. Like there's seemingly choice because each of those choices that you make has some kind of experience, some kind of consequences, necessary life lessons that come along with it. But I do believe that there are choices where we can experience the most optimal benefit, out of life. But what I did like about what he was saying, and why I wanted to bring it up, is I feel like when he was saying that, it brings you so much peace if you do think of it in that way, because you feel like you can't really miss out on life or miss out on your destiny And that in his statement was like, every decision, every choice, everything that I have experienced, the Creator knew, right? And so I have lost nothing, and I think to me that is probably one of the grandest gestures of honor, of like honoring the totality of your life. And it's important in relationships because we do, right? We do go through different transformations and we do go through different seasons. So if you're in a long, and if that's the goal for you to have a long-term relationship where lifetime is the goal, oh my gosh, you both are going to go through so many different transformations. And I've definitely seen disrespect come into relationships if someone becomes unemployed, if they lose a certain status in life. Unfortunately, that happens. Disrespect can happen on the other end. I've seen it happen with men towards women. If women, because lots of men do, they're just naturally, most men, very visual creatures. So beauty is something that is important. And so I've seen, disrespect come in on that way if they feel like, quote unquote, different things that I've heard different men say, she let herself go and things like that. And, you have to hash that out if it is a couple that's willing to kind of, let go of certain expectations that they have and work on the relationship and realize that you can, really work things out from anything that occurs really in your relationship if you choose to. But oftentimes when I'm talking to couples that are going through changes where disrespect comes in, oftentimes we start at the point before we can even dive into working out what it is that is the main conflict right now is, okay, tell me, how did you guys get together? Tell me the story. And I'm really just leaving space and opportunity for honor and gratitude and appreciation to come in. And that kind of can set, an environment to where, okay, now we can kind of dive in. Let's cut through this hard steak and figure out what we can do to kind of, meet the current need that's in a relationship or resolve the current issue that's going on. So I would say that definitely is the definition or the distinction, not definition, distinction between respect and honor. Hence why I put it in my book, the quote, and hey, Ajax, how are you? It's been so long. And Emily, how are you guys doing? So we've been a half an hour in. I'll throw out what I threw out to the other participants, the quote of the episode and the questions that I asked them, and feel free to chime in at any moment. The quote comes from my book, 7 Stages of Loving Relationships, and the quote states that respect is earned, but honor is freely given. Respect is earned, but honor is freely given. Do you agree with that? Do you think that's truthful? And the questions that coincide with that quote is, what's the difference between respect and honor? Is there a distinctive difference? And what is it, if you do believe that there is? And we are talking about what are some of the best ways to develop mutual respect and understanding in relationships. What would you say if someone came up to you and said, how do I develop, how do I earn respect? What is the best way to earn respect in a relationship? What is the advice that you're going to give them? So in a nutshell, that's what we've been talking about. And let me know. I'm going to pull up an article because I came across an article that I thought was so brilliant. And I thought it was perfect to kind of help as a support system to kind of get, lay the framework of certain things that you can say to kind of lay a foundation of how you will navigate cultivating mutual respect and understanding your relationship. So, oftentimes when it's respect, as they say, first impressions are everything, and usually people are looking at, of course, how you look. the first impression of how you present yourself to the world. And then secondly would be how you articulate yourself, right? What phrases are you looking at? I'm sure many of you probably have either went through this experience yourself or people who you have talked to. And I graduated with a communication studies degree for my BA. And I know a lot of when we used to do debates and things like that, and a lot of the critiques they would give us was that there were certain terms and phrases that you don't want to use because you don't want to come across weak. You don't want to come across not confident in what you're saying and things like that. And so I'm sure on a daily basis, as you guys engage and interact with people, that you definitely, right, can point out and listen to people who come across very confidently, or they say certain things that was like, wow, okay, that person, has a certain a command or essence that kind of commands respect towards them from the people that they are interacting with. And so this article is basically talking about certain phrases that you can use, specifically 10, that you can use that help, basically, have someone look at you in a respectable manner and kind of command respect in that way, or you have, will make you successfully earn their respect. And so I want to put it out to you guys tonight, and I want to know what your thoughts are. If you agree, and if you want to say why, you can. But I'm going to, while I'm waiting to see if I get any more answers from others, that newcomers who have come on to join the conversation, I will pull up the article and then we will, go over some of those things and see what your thoughts are. And I am a firm believer of giving credit where credit is due. So I'm going to give you guys the name of the person who wrote the article. And the article's title is 10 Confident Phrases That Instantly Make People Respect You More by Lachlan Brown. And you can find it on gediting.com. I'm going to try to see if I can paste it for you guys so that, if you want to look it up, you can. We're going to see if I can do that for you. Because I think it's an excellent read if you want to take, time out by yourself to, take time to read it. It was worth every bit of my few minutes that it took to read it. But we'll go over most of it tonight and let me know what your thoughts are. So, okay, I was able to. Oh, no. Was I? Yeah, I think. Did I just freeze you guys? I'm so sorry. Okay, so let me start. I'm trying to get, I think for some reason, let me see if I can see some of the comments that are coming in over here. Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't miss any. All right, so let me read for you guys some of the statements and let me know what your thoughts are. All right, so the first phrase that he says that you can say that will garner respect, whether it's in an intimate relationship or, right, we talk about all different relationship dynamics, and I like to present principles that will work, in all relationship contexts. So the first phrase is, I believe in us. And I really like that. Guys, I'm always talking about, two is better than one, and collective effort, collective vision and strength is greater. So I love that. And he basically in the article was saying that, when you say I believe in us, you are not just talking about your own abilities, right? But also acknowledging the capabilities of those around you, right? That's an instant respect manager. And it reminds me of a comment that my husband always says, where, and I think he learned it he was working on his master's. I think it was either master's in leadership or management, something like that. I can't recall what it was right now exactly, but it was one of his professors that said this statement. And he basically said that if if you feel like you're a leader and you're leading, and no one's following behind you, then you're just outside taking a walk, right? Because there's nobody, right, who you've inspired enough to say, this is something that is worth following. This is something that I value, that, I want to see or hear more of or be more a part of. So I completely love that. And I think when you're talking to someone and you're wondering if this is a respectable person or someone that is worthy to gain my respect, you will always know someone who is either a natural born leader or someone who has developed great leadership qualities when they know the importance of dropping just the I can do it type of mentality and kind of convert that into now I believe in us. Because any great leader knows and can be able to survey and assess the people around them, to say, okay, this is what your strength is, and I want to, outsource that to you for you to do it, because they know they can't do everything by themselves. So definitely if it's in an intimate relationship sense, a marriage, definitely, I always say we need to replace the I with we. It has to be, I believe in us. And if you kind of, have a habit of using that type of phrasing, especially if there are challenges that come up in the relationship, and honestly, it'd be great to kind of apply it before the challenges come, and let that be a phrase that literally creates the environment and the atmosphere of your relationship, so that when the challenges come, it's automatically there. It's automatic, because it's going to show, right, that you trust the value in your teamwork, in your willingness to work together, towards success, towards whatever aim that you have, or to work through whatever challenges that you have. So that's the first one. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think that's a good, phrasing? And do you think he's right in that, where if you hear somebody say that, it automatically garners your respect for them? The second one is, I value your input. Oh my gosh, I absolutely love this one. I value your input. So, so very important. I value your input. Oh my goodness. I think if, we're not talking about communication tonight, but we kind of are, because, right, these are things that you can vocalize, phrases that you can communicate and keep them as a top 10 type of phrasing that you can have in your relationship, that can inspire, right, actions that reflect the words that you're saying, or correspond with the words that you're saying, or to create a certain environment in your relationship. And man, I value your input is one of those things that definitely will help people, earn people's respect of you and the position that you hold in their life. And, because I think there's no one who doesn't want to feel like their input is being valued. And even if you're the leader that's the one in front, or the person that's initiating and laying down, the kind of foundational qualities or whatever vision that you guys are setting out to have, yeah, Just anybody who's listening to this who probably have issues in communication when it comes to your relationship, definitely add that to your Rolodex. I value your input. Even if you have a point to convey or, some truth that you want to expound upon, just noting to someone that I value your input. And this is also my thoughts or something like that really just creates a really good atmosphere to communicate and will, I guess, decrease the combative and the defensive nature that kind of comes upon us when we are either having some kind of communicative conflict or conflict in any other way in the relationship. So I want to take a moment because Emily has written about the quote. She says, about your quote, I think that honor can be similar to respect because while you can respect or admire someone, you're also kind of putting them in a high status in your head or honoring them. Yeah, we use it interchangeably. I think, to your point, I value your input, Emily. Look at me. I'm using it in real time, guys, which I do. I always value Emily's and everybody else who comes on here and takes time to join the conversation and type. You're absolutely true in that, Emily, and I don't know if you were here earlier on, but Pej, and I don't know if he's still on, but he made a really good point that I think really puts the distinction between respect and honor. Is like, it's great when it's like that, right? Where they can be used interchangeably. And because this person earned your respect, you do honor them. There are moments in life where we will find that honor, we might have to honor a process that we don't like to be in, or we might have to honor a person who hasn't necessarily earned our respect because maybe the things that they said didn't have corresponding actions that lined up, but because that person, and I don't know when you came in, but the example I gave was, for me, my father and mother did not raise me, but I do honor them. I honor them because of the spiritual significance that they have in my life. I honor them because I would not be here without them. So that's not something that they earned in a way where maybe many people would say daily showing up, in a person's life to actually help cultivate the child and things like that. But listen, I wouldn't be here without them. And I am literally a daily reminder. My life is literally the outward expression of a moment in time where they chose to become one, because I have both of their genetics inside of me. I'm literally their walking legacy. So for that, I honor them. And that also gives me the power, or has for me experientially given me the power to understand that, one, even though my father passed away when I was young, I am his walking legacy. His blood flows through me. So even if he's not physically here, I am a part of the outward expression that is him. And so therefore I continue his legacy on, and that gives me a certain type of connectivity to him, even though he's not physically here. And for my mom, she's physically here, but not necessarily physically present, have the capacity to be physically present in my life. I still am also, right, an outward reflection of her as well. And her experiences and how it affected my life made me kind of have the understanding that I have a right to choose and to cultivate the type of life that I want. And so a part of the way that I've curated my life is based on the things of what I saw her go through, and not, wanting to go through it in the same way that she did, and want to elevate the legacy of our family, and how I show up in the world and how I respond to life, and not making it overtake me, or cause inner turmoil, and seek after peace and truth and et cetera. All of those, I wouldn't be that person without her going through the things that she's went through and how it affected me in life. So I honor those processes, even though they weren't always beautiful processes to go through. So I think that's one of the main distinctions that we made, but it most definitely can show up in the way that you're saying that. Of course, if someone earns your respect, especially if they're consistent in it, like, oh my goodness, you're so consistent. Your words, your actions are lining up. What you say, you do. And yeah, I do honor you because of that. I feel like that way about my husband for sure, because over time he's been so consistent, so yeah, he has my honor and my respect, in that way. But I think that that's the difference, that you can honor someone that you don't respect still. They haven't earned it, but you still, because of you and the process and what it affords you, you still can honor them. And she also said, so because I think that respecting someone and honoring someone is similar, if somebody needs to earn respect, they also have to earn honor. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So you guys, she answered the quote as well as the question. So because she feels like it is similar, she feels like if they have to earn respect, they also have to earn honor. So that's where she, stands on it. And I appreciate that, Emily. I appreciate that. I'm sure you're not alone, and maybe others feel that way too. And I think, I don't know how many others are still on here and participating, but I think you in life, as life continues to unfold and happen for many of us, there are processes that we definitely go through in life that I do not, I do not like this process, right? It's like for me, there's a part of the process, I was born into that, right? For some people, they were like, Charlotte, you were born in dysfunction, because your father passed away, your mother not necessarily stable enough to raise you, you go through the foster system for a while, and your grandmother takes you, they would automatically kind of say, you grew up in a dysfunctional situation, right? And maybe there's a lot of people who hear that story and they don't honor it because it wasn't made of, the nuclear family type of unit that I firmly believe does give you the best advantage starting out, and depending on what the person does with it. But there are plenty of people who are like me who don't start out with that in that nuclear family, and are not giving, normatively that advantage, but still, because of their honor of the process and to know that they can still choose to rise above their situation, still end up in a great place in life and can help so many others because of the things that they've went through. And that is most definitely more so because of the honor and not necessarily because of the respect. Now, maybe me as a person, when somebody hears my testimony, they'll say, oh, you earned my respect for sure because of what you went through and how you've, been able to, your life pan out regardless of the challenges that you face. But me going through the process, I had to put honor there to be able to see more clearly and not be under my circumstance, but rise above it. And so I think that is the difference, because, like I said, ideally it would be great for it to be that when you respect someone, they earn it and therefore you honor them too. But there's plenty of situations where you honor someone that you might not necessarily respect, and again, Pez used a really great example in the beginning. He says, I despise my captain, but I honor his rank, right? I'm sure, and many people in the military probably have felt that way before, or maybe even people who live in other countries, whether it's a president, or a person who, unfortunately is under, a dictator, or they can honor the positions that people play in their government and not necessarily respect their values, but honor them because they're in that position. And I do believe that the culture we live in is more so respect, like you earn it from me, then I'll give it to you, and that's it. And honor is something, a dying principle in culture today, unfortunately, but it's so necessary because I think when relationships go through certain seasons and changes, that will kind of sometimes it mars a person's status and where they are. Like definitely one simple example is there are plenty of men who suffer in relationships that if they become unemployed, there's a certain status drop that they have, and that will usher in sometimes a lot of disrespect from their wives. And maybe on the other end, like I said in the beginning, sometimes I've seen men lack honor for their wives if their wives change physically in some type of way. Maybe if they feel like their beauty, is diminishing, they let themselves go, etc. And some people will be like, oh, well, that person never loved that person, or that person is too, what's the word, superficial. And, that might be true. But these are things that go on in relationships. And honestly, those people do oftentimes love that person, but the issue is being caused by the lack of honor that they have. They're not remembering who that person, was or is to them. And so I'll say, and I wrote it in my book that I wrote, 7 Stages of Love and Relationships, that, people start to quote unquote fall out of love or don't, treat the people that they're in a relationship with, especially as time grows and you're in a long-term relationship, they start to treat them differently only because the honor is decreasing, either slowly or rapidly. And so now you no longer are considering what I say to a lot of my clients when they're in conflicts is I ask them to remember the state they were in before that person was brought into their life. Like for many of them, they were praying to have a certain person in their life, or, they were thinking about what that would look like, having someone who could be brought in their life and how it would elevate their life and things like that. And normatively, when they do at the beginning meet each other, the honor is there, right? The respect is there and it's thriving and they're drenched in it. But after a long period of time, repetition, routine, all of those things come into play. And then unfortunately, sometimes we take for granted the people that have been brought into our life, and we forget the prayers that we sent out, or the thoughts or the innermost desires that we had for them to be brought into our life. And so, that's why I think this is important, because it's not everything that your partner is going to earn for you to extend to them. Sometimes, and anybody on here who's in a relationship or who has been in a relationship, a long-term relationship, will tell you that there are certain times where offense is made, whether it's unconsciously or even consciously, where, the respect, you can easily say, well, you don't even deserve my respect right now. You don't deserve, my appreciation and gratitude. And when you mature, you realize that there are moments where you extend the honor because of who you know that person to be, even if it might be a situation where they're just in maybe going through a depressive moment or insecure moment in life, and they're not really showing up regularly who they really are, right? So I would say, whereas respect is earned, where you can kind of calculate it and see it with your 5 senses, right? Like we're talking about, where someone says something, they have corresponding actions to line up to it, they consistently show it. Yeah. Whereas honor is more, that's why I put in my book, it's the spiritual significance that a person has in your life. And so that's not always easily seen. And, so the honor that you give is kind of beyond what you're seeing the person showing up right now. It's like honor requires for you to see beyond like, more than meets the eye. That phrase that they say, you're seeing beyond what that person is presenting to you. And that could be twofold. That could be someone in a relationship, let's just say a marriage, because I think this is where this would probably show up more. In a marriage where something has happened, where either, like I said, maybe someone lost a job and status has decreased, or they're going through a change and they're not acting like their normal self, where, right, in your five senses, it's not outright where they're earning that respect from you. However, you extend honor to them because you know who they are. It's almost like getting out of your logic and practicality and reaching to see who that person is through God's lens, right? And I'm sure any of us can say maybe we went through something like that where you felt like you were at your optimal best state, and things were going great. And there are times where things happen, or we're processing, or we're going through transition. Oftentimes when I'm dealing with my clients, that comes in when they're going through a transitional moment, right? And because it's uncertainty there, it brings insecurity. And so they can't be who they were because they're literally going through a change. And so now they're trying to navigate, bringing out maybe skills that have been dormant inside of them, and navigating something that is they're treading new waters, basically. And so oftentimes both of them, the man and the woman, whoever is going through the transformation is unsure of the transformation they're going through because they're in transition. And definitely the person in the relationship, the partner who's witnessing it, is also like, I'm very uncertain of this person who's right in front of me. They're not acting like they used to. And I don't know where they are. I don't know exactly fully where they're headed because they haven't landed to navigate this new season or new transformation that they're going through. So in those spaces, that's where we want to put the honor, because it's uncertain territory in that way. So if you just go into a relationship and just says someone's just going to have to earn my respect and they're going to have to keep my respect, I understand from a logical point of view in stating that, and there's nothing wrong with, I guess, having that as a standard. I think add on to it, though, that in life, we go through transformations and transitions and different seasons. And in those seasons where that person is not earning the respect in the way that you have become accustomed to, that honor, that we'll extend honor in that space, because we don't want to completely just dismiss everything of who that person is, right? We don't just throw away the receipts. Like if we buy a whole bunch of things, right? We don't want to just throw away the receipts that have occurred. And when I say receipts, I mean that if that's a person where there's been evidence in their life and fruit that they've been able to cultivate and show in the relationship of who they are to you consistently, if they're going through a moment of transition, and for you to just say, well, no, you just got to keep on earning my respect and not be able to have a space of honor there, then it's like, okay, how? It's kind of, it's honor and grace kind of go hand in hand, So when you're extending honor, you're also extending grace to that person for a period of time that they need, the support to make whatever transition or transformation that they're going through. Now, in no way, and I want to reiterate this like I reiterated it in the beginning, I'm not saying a person who is experiencing disrespect where someone is physically harming them, and even verbal abuse is very deteriorating to a person's self-esteem and things like that. If you are navigating and you are single and you are just vetting a person or potential partner that you are seeing if they could possibly be a person who could be a future spouse to you, you want to kind of listen to the words and see if they say certain things that we have been that I've been presenting you to tonight. And yeah, you want to see if those words align with our actions, and you're not in a relationship where you've made a vow like someone has done in marriage. What I'm talking about is like if someone's in a marital situation and that type of experience that I was explaining before, a circumstance comes up where, yeah, honor has to be extended, because you don't want to just cross out. We don't make a vow to then just, we can't the vow that we made to each other and to God and to the public that witnessed our union, right? So that's a different thing. And if it's any kind of bodily harm, you have to run to save your life beyond anything else. So I just want to make a note that that's not what we're talking about tonight. That's a totally different scenario. So I have only said 2 phrases, but I'm not too bad. I'm looking at time. We're not too bad. I want to end like at 9:30, so we're good. I'm going to try to get through all the phrases to you guys tonight. So the first one was, and if anybody is tuning in, and hey, it's another one, Sparks. Oh my goodness, all is well. I didn't see. I don't know how long you're in here. I don't know if you're still in here, but we've been on for a while. We're talking about the difference between respect and honor. I threw out a quote that I have in my book that says, respect is earned, but honor is freely given. Just ask them, did they believe that? And we're talking about how to develop mutual respect and understanding in relationships. And I basically am just going over an article that I came across that has 10 phrases that you can kind of keep in your tool belt, your relationship toolkit, to keep in your relationship, to use these phrases that I'm going to give to you guys tonight as basically a way to cultivate mutual respect and understanding. So first one I said was, I believe in us. Definitely want to lean towards collective effort, right? Where it's not just, I can do it by myself. I believe in us, right? And our ability to team up, to work together towards any aim, right? Successfully. 2, I value your input, right? Everyone wants to feel like they're valuable and that their input is being valued. So when you do that, you are helping, not only letting the person know that instead of trying to solve something on your own, you want to solve this as a team. It's a team effort, right? So that's something that you definitely want to, a phrase you want to listen out for someone using, and definitely something that, more importantly, that you start using in your own language, because I think, in my book, I know many people talk about just someone earning their respect, but I do think in everything, it starts with you. So when you're thinking about these phrases that I'm putting forward tonight on the podcast, write them down and let it be something that you're, putting in your own language. This will be your own, what's the word I'm looking for? Like dictionary, to pull out these phrases and make it a part of your daily language. All right. 3, let's learn from this. Love this. It definitely ties into our conversation about honor, because again, when you honor someone or something, you can honor a person that you do not respect. You can honor a process that you did not like going through. However, the honor can be there because you know that you were able to extrapolate principles, things that you could apply to your life, things that aided in your growth. So if you're in a relationship, marriage, friendship, co-worker dynamic, having the type of language, let's learn from this, will help, right, garner respect. And I think this is important because on my podcast, I often will say that love is not a defensive, right? You know how I'm sure you guys have heard love is a verb, right? It's not something you just say, it's an action, it's a verb. So in the essence of the type of verb it has an offensive nature. And I always say that God is love and there's no opposite to God. So really there's not, when you realize that, then you can kind of walk through this life very, boldly and unapologetically being who you are, because you know there is no opposite to what you're made of inside of you. And so I think this phrase is important. Let's learn from this, because it automatically takes you out of a defensive type of response to life, whether it's a process that you're going through or whether it's a person that you're either giving honor to, or you're taking more of an offensive role, meaning like just going back to the conversation that I had with my children's godfather, when his perspective that there's only seemingly choice in life, and that the creator knows all things. And so every aspect of his life was meticulously detailed, and whatever seemingly choice that he has was already written in the script. And so when he thinks like that, it gives him ultimately a very offensive type of outlook in life, where you don't feel, for many of us, sometimes we can get stuck in, trapped into thinking wrong decisions that we've made or mistakes that we've made, and we can get stuck there and not kind of grow out of it and kind of repeat certain cycles, because we trap ourselves, almost like imprisoned in our mind and in our being, to stay in whatever state or condition we were in when we made the mistake. But with that type of mentality that he's talking about, you're like, my whole life, is just right. It was written out in the right, in the right way. And so each action, each experience is I guess a cumulative, beautiful way that my life unfold. Even the things that I deemed were not good experiences, I still have always had the opportunity to learn from it, and that's his perspective. And so you can kind of live life in a very offensive way, that when things are happening, and even if it's not what you would deem a good or pleasurable experience, you can kind of grow quickly out of it, because you're not looking at it or staying in the situation from a defensive perspective. So that's number 3. Let's learn from this. You can put that in any type of relationship dynamic, whether it's marriage, a romantic interest, friendships, working, familial relationships. It's a great. It shows resilience. It shows willingness to grow, and most importantly, it shows you having confidence to face challenges head on. And any of us who have been in any type of kind of relationship knows that conflict most definitely will occur. We can't avoid it. And so if we can't avoid it, the best way is to confidently face it head on, and know that you have the willingness to grow and the resilience to grow through it and rise above it and come out even better. So let's learn from this. Number 3. 4, I respect your perspective. Really good, right? And as we've stated many times tonight, that navigating conflicts and navigating disagreements can be very tricky. But as I've said before, it's inevitable, and it's just a part of human interaction, right? And so one of the best ways to maintain the respect during a disagreement is to acknowledge the other person's viewpoint, right? Like, I respect your perspective, by saying that, you're showing that you value their thoughts and feelings, even if they differ from yours, right? And I think that's important, because I know for me, and as I matured and understood what true leadership is, it's not this thing where it's like, okay, I'm in a leadership role and I get to tell people what to do. Like, no, it is so different from that. My husband likes to say, as a leader, going into husbandry and taking on leadership to guide and direct our family, he's like, man, you're the janitor, you're the cleanup. Like, God calls on you to clean everything up, and you literally or clean up all the poop, clean up all the all the things that people don't want to see, right? But it's so important, right? I think about whenever he says that, it makes me think of. He has said it before the pandemic, but now it definitely makes me think of the pandemic when we were going through, COVID, when everybody was locked down, and then the only places that were open were what they would deem essential workers, right? And of course, that meant, the hospitals, the doctors, the nurses, and things like that were continuing to work through that uncomfortable, right, process that we went through for many people, I should say, maybe not all. But then you had essential workers that were, right, cashiers, people who are working in the supermarkets because, right, we need to eat. That's essential. And without a kind of state of emergency, a countrywide emergency like that, sometimes we don't view, a lot of people don't view those types of jobs as, as far as high status job. But boy, is it essential, right? Boy, is it when, times where we're stripped from a lot of the luxuries of life that we have, and it's stripped down to the bare bones necessity, fundamental things, essential things that we need, that those are the jobs that that people were praising, that people were honoring, the people doing. And those, I guess, another example too, that could be another example, Emily, right? That sometimes those are jobs that people I don't want to say down upon. I mean, I'm sure there are people who are, that do it in that way, but they're not regarded in the most, they're not highly regarded or respected, right? But when it comes to emergency situations, it appropriates everything like, oh, well, no, we better respect these people who are doing these jobs, because without it, we can't get the basic food that we need, right? In societies like ours, and nations that are growing, and definitely growing in the age of technology, and those are the type of professions that we have are now in very high regard. And sometimes we forget about like agriculture and farming, and right. And so there's many conversations about America and how we've done away with some of those essential things like growing our own food, where other countries have still continued to do that. And we're going to find ourselves, right, where we're kind of, I think we're already there, at a crux when, unfortunately, because we don't do that, we're making more genetically made food that is not really great for our body to process, and that increase sickness and all kind of things, right? And so that's another example that we can use, where things that aren't necessarily highly respected, jobs and positions like the janitors that keep things clean so that there's not garbage and things, smells, unpleasant smells and things like that, while we're navigating and walking the streets. People don't regard those things. They don't necessarily respect those jobs. But when it comes down to foundational things, or when there's an emergency situation, we understand that those are the most essential jobs, and then we place the honor there. And so I think COVID is an example of sometimes what happens in relationships, right? Where there are certain things that we might not even place honor on, the things that are essentially causing our relationship to grow and thrive. And then we'll look at, or respect the romanticization of it all, and not look at the essentials. That's also another way you can look at it, where we can kind of distinguish honor from respect. And so it just made me think of that when I said that last statement. So we are on number 5. We're almost finished, folks. Halfway there. I like this one. I'm committed to excellence. I love this. I'm going to say it again because I love it that much. I'm committed to excellence is a phrase that you can say that will earn respect, command respect from others. Let me know your thoughts if you think that's true. I definitely think it's true. As we've been talking about over and over again tonight, right? When it comes to respect, actions often will speak louder than words, right? However, articulating, right, your commitment to, high standards to serve in the best way can also leave a lasting impression. And what I like really about this statement is that if you say I'm committed to excellence, that's not saying you're going to be perfect. and I always love that, because I think one of the one of the things that really block relationships from really blooming is this expectation of perfection, and this idea, whether it's you struggling within your own self of whatever it is that you are aiming to do here, and thinking that you have to be this smart, or you have to be able to say everything perfectly, or you have to look, perfectly in a certain way. It's right. It starts with us. As another quote that my husband says that I always say on here that I love, that perfection is not required, but connection is. Perfection is not required in no circumstance, right? Doesn't matter what dynamic of the relationship. Perfection is not required. It's impossible. That's why it's not required, because no one is perfect, right? We're all flawed, even in the system like we're talking about tonight, honoring processes that we might not like the experience of it because it came with a certain amount of challenge, or it came with a certain amount of pain and suffering, but it still doesn't have to diminish what you honor about that process because of what you gained from it, right? So if you have a marriage, you have a relationship where the people say, forget about perfection. We know it's impossible. We know it's not required because it's impossible, but we are committed to stay connected. And hopefully in that commitment to stay connected, we're going to stay connected and we're going to strive for excellence through it. I don't have to be perfect, but I can be excellent. Right. I just had a sister-in-law who came up and just said that when she was talking to me about something, and it's true, right? It's like, I don't have to be perfect, but I can be excellent at what I do. And that excellent, right, depending on what the person is doing and who they are, it looks different for each person. But having that is great because it automatically appropriates the truth that let's not waste our energy, throwing up expectations to have this perfect run of a relationship. But let's stay connected and let's commit to excellence. Let's commit to what that looks like, for us. Right. And it'll send a clear message that you're not just aiming to get something done, right, but that you're striving to deliver the best, which I think is important, because I think when I said the statement of what I put in my book, that most relationships, people start treating each other differently because they start taking for granted the presence and the presence of their partner's presence in their life. They start taking it for granted, and because the honor, right? They start to diminish the honor in the relationship, and the gratitude slowly, right, lessens, and the appreciation. And so therefore, they just think that person has to be there, or, they're always going to be there. And then life, I think I definitely have experienced enough people who have either experienced loss around me, or I've experienced loss in my own life, to know that that's not the truth, right? That this person is not guaranteed to be here every single day. So let's honor the fact that they are, and that they are showing up in the way that they can. And welcome, King Shaman. Thank you. Hopefully you're enjoying the podcast. All right, number 6. We're almost finished. I genuinely care about your well-being. Oh my gosh. Yes. A person who earns your respect is a person who genuinely cares about your well-being. And I really, this hits home because I talk about it a lot on this podcast. I usually bring it up when we're talking about selfishness in relationships, and that you can tell when you are, navigating a relationship in a selfless way, in a selfless type of condition, because you can say to yourself that either the words that I'm using and the actions that are corresponding with it is that it's reflecting to that person that I genuinely care about your well-being. And oftentimes if we meet people and people are brought into our life, and of course, if they're pouring into our life and they're like everything, that we prayed for and more, it's very easy to now want to control the situation, and not in a bad way. Like, it's not, I say selfish oftentimes on this podcast, and people are like, I'm not selfish and things like that. Oftentimes, our selfishness stems from insecurities within us. It's not selfishness from a point of view where it's like, oh, I'm a evil person, or I just, want what I want, and I'm trying to take as much. I mean, there are people in life that are like that, but most people, from my experience, are not like that. They are good-natured people who, don't always like to tread uncertainty in life, which uncertainty is literally interwoven in the framework of life. We cannot negate it, right? So when we're, treading those new waters, as I was stating before in the beginning, in the examples that I was using, and we are diving into something that's uncertain to us, then it will trigger insecurities in us. And from that insecurity, selfishness will come. And so it will come in a way, and I'll give you an example where it's like, okay, that person has come into your life, they're pouring into you, they're everything you wanted and more. And so then you want to kind of have them all to yourself. You can start to think of trying to protect the relationship so that that person does not, ever leave you or ever stop loving you in a certain way or something like that, when real love is extended and real honor is extended. You really do care about that person's well-being, even if that person is not, right? If their well-being is better off not being with you, right? So again, someone's selfishness can come in and it won't even be about the person's well-being anymore. It's about you fulfilling my desire. It is about getting to a certain result and goal. Like, I want to be married, or I want to feel love, and I want to experience this in this way. And even if that way is not the best way or enriching for that person, it doesn't matter, because at least it will, right, kind of ease my insecurity, So I think this is really great when, as something that he brought up in the article, to say, someone who earns your respect is someone who genuinely cares about your well-being overall. That means that I can take myself out, of being in your life and really look at the things that I see serve you and really want to support what those things are in any way possible. I think when you have that mind state, it most likely won't be that you won't be in that person's life when you proceed in that way. But when you don't, then there are a lot of selfish tactics and things that come in, like jealousy and that just stir and trigger people's insecurities. And so then they don't necessarily think about the overall well-being of that person, or they're not thinking collectively or holistically. It's just, I always say selfishness, the best simple description of when someone is selfish is that you're looking at something from one small angle and you're not looking at it holistically. So therefore you can't really, right, kind of grasp and embrace the truth, because the lens from which you look is too close-minded. It's too, right, the angle's too short-sighted, and you need to be able to, have expansive vision to kind of think collectively. So I absolutely love this, right? Yeah, one and in the article he said one of the most direct paths to earning respect is by genuinely caring for others, and I can't refute that. That is so true. I'll say it again. One of the most direct paths to earning respect is by genuinely caring for others. Absolutely. I don't think a person will be resistant to a person who genuinely shows that they care for that person's well-being in totality. They're going to be able to, earn that person's respect, and that person is going to be able to discern that that person does care for them in that way. All right, 7, I don't know everything. Ooh, that's a good one. For sure. That definitely is something that we need to put in our Rolodex. I don't know everything. And I think if there was a phrase that could sum up, you know, uh, what we're talking about tonight, and why I think it's important to kind of understand what respect is and know the difference between respect and honor, and why both are necessary in relationships, is because respect and oftentimes in our minds we feel like we are going to respect someone who we feel like, of course, is astute in a certain topic and expert and etc. But even the person who is astute in a certain aspect of life or professionalism doesn't know everything, and that's just the truth, right? Because we already said that perfection is not possible, or is it required? So once you realize that, and when we're talking about in the context of relationships, it's like, yeah, that's the whole point of why we're together, because I don't know everything. It's not required. And I think you can become more wise, and you can be open to embrace the truth when you already realize that, oftentimes in our family and our friends, we have earned, and I say we, meaning my husband and I, Ben and I, have earned their respect, because no matter what times, they'll come and they'll speak to us. God, in His graciousness, has afforded our house to be like an oasis for people to come and get a woosah moment and take a break and, think about their life, reflect, and kind of recalibrate, and then, go on and and navigate the uncertainty of their life. They come to us, and the consistency of our actions and our words and how we align them with each other and God, it has earned their respect in a certain way. And oftentimes when they come and, our house environment, as well as their communication with us, provides greater clarity for them, oftentimes, sometimes the feedback we'll get is like, oh, well, sometimes because when I come to you and you're able to kind of like connect the dots, seemingly so easily, it feels like, whatever I'm presenting to you, better, or, like it comes off like, everything. And I tell them it's the absolute opposite. It's the fact that I don't know everything, and that I'd rather listen and not speak. That we've been able to, do that and be able to offer clarity to others. But let's be clear, being put in a position to do that adds more pressure and weight on you, because people are coming to you thinking that you have an answer for them, And so for us, the way that we calibrate that in our life is that we don't have an answer for you, and we know that to be true. So the best thing we're going to do is just try and stay connected to God, so that whoever He sends our way, that we can kind of pull from, that infinite wisdom to give you. So it's actually the opposite. It's the fact that I don't know everything that affords for that, and so that's what I think about when I hear that phrase. I definitely agree with that, and I think it's a great standpoint for both people in the relationship to have, to do what I just said by example that Ben and I do, which is that no, we don't know everything, so that's why we have to hold on to God with every fabric of our life and our character. And it has proven to show that because we try our best to stay in that positioning that he brings a lot of people in and out of our space, because he can trust that we know we don't know everything, and that we will hold space and hold room to be mindful and listen for what his principles, his truth has to say on certain matters of life. So I'm going to read some of the things that Emily has taken out time to write. She said, yeah, because we seem like we know what we're talking about by acting like you know everything. Yeah, absolutely. And she said, see, I like the 7th quote because most people are afraid to say I don't know, right? Absolutely, Emily. And she said, and because all these experts are afraid to say that they don't know, they say the wrong thing. And a new bunch of people think the expert is right. She's so right in that. I say it, I don't know if I say it often here on this podcast, but I definitely say it to my clients, whether I'm individual, coaching someone individually, privately. I definitely say it on my group membership coaching sessions. I say, I never say I'm an expert. You will not hear that come out my mouth. I say God's the expert and I am just a messenger. I am just a medium, because I didn't start doing this from the idea of I know everything or that I went through a program and got a certificate to do this. And I always say that with understanding that I'm not putting down someone who has went that route and who does, deem themselves to be an expert in something. There's nothing wrong with that, feeling that you're confident in whatever process that you went through. I'm doing this out of sheer honor and gratitude for literally the life, the current, reality of my life and how God has interwoven my relationship and really understanding that it's a sheer miracle because more people fail at relationships than they do at their professions or careers or other dynamics in life because it has a lot to do with faith. It has a lot to do with navigating uncertainty in life, right? Because you can be all of who you are. You can come up and show up confidently, but you cannot calculate or predict who a person will be years and years down the line. Will they still choose you? Will they still commit to you? All of that is like, it's complex for so many of us, brings up anxiety for others, and at the same time, what I try to leave space here and opportunity is to highlight the beauty in that and try to kind of ease the anxiety of it, and understand that uncertainty is a part of it and that it's necessary because if you don't have the uncertainty, then how do you exercise trust, which you need in a relationship? And then how do you exercise faith? And the truth is, if you know everything about your partner and if you could calculate the results and if you knew as much as you think it would bring you security, as much as we need uncertainty, right? We need certainty in life. And if we think that certainty is going to be, yes, I can now jump into this because I know I've been able to fast forward this. God has given me the opportunity to see that you will never leave my side, that now I can do this. Then that would take a lot of the intrigue, the joy, of being able to go through the process of getting to know yourself and your partner as you go through the transitions and seasons of life. I think that is the whole idea of a marriage. It's the whole idea of even getting to know, God, your creator, that's the beauty, right? It's like the more you submit to knowing him, the more you get to know yourself, the more you, are open to getting to know more about your partner and not predict that they're going to be this same person all throughout, then you get to see and find beauty and delight in seeing the transformations that both of you go through, which it's more enriching that way than if it was all laid out for you, you know? I think that's the whole point is like, okay, you meet someone and, maybe some of the phrases that we're talking about tonight, maybe now that you hear these phrases, you're going to put them in your, language profile, and you're going to be intentional about curating or articulating your speech in that way. And then you start to listen to see if others around you are also, right, saying similar things that is inspiring their actions in that same direction. And then you see that they have a character that kind of gleans to that positive nature. And then you commit to that right there and seeing how it's going to unfold. And you stay connected to each other, and you stay connected to God to see how both of you will respond through different life transformations and situations. That's the beauty of it. If we just had certainty, we would be very bored in this life. That's why people go on vacations, they travel, they look at different, cultures and society. They do different things to have different experiences because you need the uncertainty. And sometimes, unfortunately, when it comes to relationships, especially in modern day culture, we just want the certainty. And we think once we have the certainty, and I know from beginning to end, I can calculate and I can say that you're going to be here, then I'm good. I can commit. But man, if we just have that, it's not going to offer, the the principle that this is more of a faith walk than anything else. It's not going to offer you a genuine experience of someone going through the many different transformations that they will go through, but still choosing to choose you, and still choosing to grow with you, and still choosing to respect and honor and nurture the relationship they have with you. If it was all certain, how would they earn your respect? And vice versa, right? That's what we'd have to ask ourselves. It was all certain and all calculated and all predictable. How would they earn your respect? There would be no even really space to do that because everything's already laid out, right? And so there's no beauty in that. There's no intimacy. There's no delight. There's no us looking back. I have my first book that I wrote titled Life in Color. It was a book of poems, and one of the poems, it was different sections, and I had a section specifically talking about relationships, and I think it was my last poem was titled We Made It Through. And it's basically a poem where, it's like an old couple looking back at their life and talking about all the different changes and challenges and things that they made it through. And it ends with them, stating that they're now looking down from heaven in good graces above, seeing what their faith, afforded them to kind of grow through together. And now they can kind of look back down on their legacy and feel the richness that they now have, the enrichment that they have, because they can look and see what them joining their faith together afforded them to leave in life. So I think, at the end of the day, that's what we desire and aim for, in a good, I guess, place to start, to at least create an atmosphere and a space to really experience that in life, is to come in with this statement of, I don't know everything. I don't know everything. You don't know everything. And that's beautiful. And being okay, like what Emily said, and saying, I don't know. That does not mean that when you say, I don't know, that somewhere down the line in something that you say or something that you do cannot impact me in such a way that I am very much convinced in my mind that you most definitely have earned my respect and you have my honor because of what you have, how you've responded to life, and how you, right, have been able to process and articulate, the very messages that God has for you to articulate to other people, and actions that, you do to impact other people. So very good. We're almost finished. We got 3 more and then we're going to wrap it up because it's after 9:30 and I wanted to get off at 9:30. 8, I love this one. I need your help. Let me say that one again in slow motion. I need your help. So simple, right? 4 words, 4 simple words. Don't think about Stevie Wonder's song, These 3 Words. These 4 words, okay? I need your help. Oh my goodness. Simple yet so hard for many of us to do. I blame it on our self-preservation, our ego. We're used to doing things on our own in life. We try to protect ourselves. We try to guard our hearts in the best way that we think we know how. And so it's very hard to ask sometimes those 4 words. And what I just interestingly had a conversation with someone who's close to me, and they asked me the question, and I don't even know if they asked me the question. I think that they were just expressing to me their desire to be a wife. And I had said to, the woman that one of the things that I'm grateful that I was able to learn early on is that in order to be a helper, which biblically, that's what a helpmate, a wife is described as, you have to be able to ask for help. In order to be a helper, you have to be able to ask for help. It's like, it seems so simple, but can be very challenging and difficult to do. I don't care who it is. I always go back to the scripture that says, let the greatest among you be a servant, right? Like the greatest person among us is literally a servant, right? It could go back to what I was talking about when we were going through COVID and people realized that people who were working in supermarkets, cashiers, the janitors who have to clean the floor, the people who have to stock the items, they were serving while, the rest of us were quarantined to get us essential things. And unfortunately, sometimes we don't honor those jobs until emergency cases come up. And I think, whether you're like a Jeff Bezos, Amazon, who's literally serving the world all across the world, even that person who, starts the business needs help. They need employees. They need people to, handle certain aspects of the company. And that help will help them to serve in a greater capacity. So that's why I said to the woman who was expressing to me her desire to be a wife and wanting to know, what are the qualities that you want to possess to become a wife. And I said, that's one of the most, fundamental ones that I had to learn that was challenging to me was that in order for me to be a helper, I have to ask for help. And one of the things that I think I'm still working on and that I, encourage some of my clients, who are in the position of either already a wife or want to become a wife is to ask for help directly. I think for a lot of people, we can ask for help indirectly. We won't just write out and say it. And I think, and some people might be listening to this says, what does it matter? Like whether I ask for help directly or indirectly, I think it does matter because I think to ask for help, you have to be in a humble state. You have to really embrace humility and accept humility. And so if you ask for help directly, it's direct, right? It's you embracing humility in totality. And when you do that, you put, I think you empower, you inspire the person who you're making the request to, if they have the capacity to help in greater ways towards you. I think it's no difference. Like when you're praying to God and you're making a request, if you come to Him in all of your, for lack of better words right now, I'll say brokenness or just uncertainty about whatever it is that you're embarking on or challenge that you face. When you just kind of lay it bare and not have a vibrato of trying to hold on to your strength, then it there's no blockage there. Like the blessings can just like pour in. The things that are literally waiting for you to have can just be given to you. And I think it's no difference from when you ask for someone's help directly instead of indirectly. That positioning and posturing of humility will then, right, leave you open to be served in a greater capacity. And so that's definitely something I'm, staying conscious within myself, because I definitely am a person I can ask for help indirectly, but not directly to say, I need your help because da 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 da. So I think there's degrees, right? Either you can be a person who's like, completely like prideful. And again, prideful, I don't mean like you're, a negative, harmful person. I just mean that we're people who have a lot of pride. We might be just used to doing things ourselves. And so the pride will get in the way to now help someone, ask someone to help, which is counterproductive for a relationship, because the whole point of why two is better than one, or why the person is there, is because I can help you in this area, you can help me in this area, So definitely, to be a helper, you must know how to ask for help. And if you can ask help, do not resist asking for help. Do not be too prideful to resist asking for help. And when you ask for help, ask for it directly, not indirectly, so that you can fully take on a posturing of being completely, humble and have humility. All right, last two. This is a good one. Only people that comes from a movie, Coming to America. From Eddie Murphy, the old guy's like, when the guy says something like he thinks is, fact or truthful. So anyway, I take responsibility. Oof. I didn't have anything to gulp, but I was just thinking in my mind I should gulp right now. Swallow some humble pie. This one is the truth. I take responsibility. I think if you meet anyone who is able to be accountable, fully accountable of their actions and what they are okay with completely saying they are responsible for, definitely worthy of earning and having your respect. And so definitely, if you can be a person that can take full accountability for your part in something, or full responsibility because you feel like it is, or was all on you. Accountability is just a fundamental trait, and it does command respect from each other, from people, because you want someone who can take full responsibility of owning up to their actions, both good and bad, right? I mean, many of us, for the good parts of it, like, yeah, I'll take accountability. I'll take credit for that. I'm fully accountable for making you as great as you are. You know that, right? But the moments when we did not, either reflect God's love, light, and truth in the best way that we think that we could have, or, we just had a bad day that didn't, reflect really 100% who we are. No matter what the spectrum is, super great or something that you deem to be bad, still just be okay with taking full accountability and responsibility for it. I think taking full accountability alleviates fear, which is important, because many of us, fear will come in our life and try to trigger insecurity in us and literally imprison us in certain state of minds and conditions. But when you take full responsibility, you show that you're not afraid to admit when you're wrong or when things don't go as planned, Yeah, and in the article that I'm reading from, he says, it demonstrates your integrity and honesty and qualities that are highly respected. And it's true. It is true because it's hard for a lot of people to take responsibility to say those words. So that is a really, really, really good one. All right, last one. I absolutely love it. Thank you. Thank you. And I think this one definitely ties into what I was talking about earlier on, that people start to treat their partners different in the relationship, especially over long periods of time, because the honor that they have for each other diminishes. And that appreciation and that gratitude starts to diminish, and so do the thank yous, right? Like what you're doing, you've been doing it, you repeat it all the time, you're supposed to do it. That's what you're supposed to do, right? It's like in the beginning, you're so happy that the person's there, you're so happy that your prayers are answered, you're delighting in experiencing the fact of how this person is enriching your life. You are delighting in their time, their energy. You're grateful, appreciative of their time and their energy and anything that they put into you and the relationship. And then after that, forget it. Especially if you're married and you guys have committed to each other and you make vows, and now there's routine, and it's like, okay, you're supposed to do that. That's what you're supposed to do. I expect nothing less from you. And you forget, like, no, this person doesn't have to do this. This person is showing up daily, choosing you over and over and over again, and they do not have to, even though they made a vow. We know this, right? Because we know the divorce rates, right? We know that plenty of people have vowed and they've walked and ran away. So if that person is showing up every day in your life, let the thank yous thrive for both the macro and the micro things that they do. Taking out the garbage, cleaning the bathroom, cooking the dinner, making your plate, whatever it is, forgiving you when you did an offense or something wrong, yeah. Show genuine appreciation. And say thank you, and thank yous are powerful. They are, especially if you haven't heard him in a while and the person has kind of realized that they have settled into this idea that you have to do this and forgot that no, even though you made this vow, you still have to choose that person daily. And if you're doing this, it's because you are. So yeah, thank you. Thank you. So those are all of them, folks. Those are all the 10 phrases. I'm going to go and say them really quickly, and then we're going to wrap this up. Number 1 is I believe in us. 2 is I value your input. 3 is let's learn from this. 4, I respect your perspective. 5, I'm committed to excellence. 6, I genuinely care about your well-being. 7, I don't know everything. 8, I need your help. 9, I take responsibility. And 10, thank you. All right, so hopefully, I pray that, we, one, had a truthful and interesting conversation, and 2, that you were able to walk away with some tools, relationship skills and tools that you can apply and make a part of your, either your language that hopefully will inspire actions that align with it. And that the phrasing that you heard tonight, the conversation to support it, helps you to kind of understand what the essence of respect is, and the difference between it and honor, and how both of them are valuable and both of them are necessary tools to have in your little handy dandy toolkit, relationship toolkit, to apply in certain seasons and certain changes in the dynamics of your relationship. And yeah, so hopefully, you could walk away with something that you can ponder on, and hopefully, get even a greater conversation with your partner or your friends or etc. Right? But thank you as always for popping in with me for as many times as you did. If you stayed on for the whole podcast or whether you just popped in for a moment, gave me your 2, 3, 4, 5 cents. Yeah, I appreciate you. All right, I will be back on Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you are new again, I usually come on Thursday and Sunday evenings, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If anything resonated with you tonight, be sure to go to my YouTube channel, Forever Friends Academy. Like, subscribe, comment, spread the videos. Most importantly, because if you feel like this is content that you want to hear more of and that it would be helpful to others to talk about, the things that we talked about tonight, I would love it. It's one of the ways that you can support what my vision is and what my aim is. So I appreciate it. All right. So feel free if you want to dive into even more coaching that's specific to exactly what's going on in your life. If you're on Twitch, Facebook, any of YouTube, any of the other platforms, my website that I do my Forever Friends Academy coaching, as well as you can inquire about individual coaching, is on that website. So click in the description. And if you're on IG, click the link in my bio and it'll have the information. It also has some snippets of coaching sessions that are free to the public. And, the other ones are private that are full sessions from our group. But it'll give you a kind of like a little simple, little short snippets that you can kind of listen to. All right. Absolutely enjoyed talking to you guys tonight. Have a good evening. As I always like to say, always remember to live to love freely. And until next time, bye.